Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we are here for Friday Classics and we are talking about Francis Harper's Iola Leroy. So let's get started. Good morning or good evening everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I prattle on about the books that I've read. And as I said in the intro, we are talking about Francis Harper's Iola Leroy, and this was a group read with the I Read Dead People book club with Heather from Heather's Heroes and Heroines, and I am co-hosting with her a live stream on the 21st of January, so you'll have to come over and join in the fun of that, where we will talk about this book more in depth. So I'm just coming in to let you know about that and talk a little bit about the book today. And as I said, as you can see, I have tabbed the hell out of this. We will be going in depth into this book over on her channel on the 21st, and Courtney from Tangible Reads will also be joining us as well, and I'll leave all the information linked up down below. Alright, so basically there is a lot to unpack in this book. It is centered around slavery and the Civil War, and also of people that can pass for white. So basically Iola Leroy can pass for white, and it's telling her story. And so basically it starts out where a couple of slaves are talking about the war and what's happening in the war, who's winning and who's losing, and what's happening, and also there is some dialogue in here about the slaves escaping and getting over to the other side, and the whole premise behind that. And I don't know how to word this except for they're alluding to it's like the spoils of war. So you know when a horse goes over to the other side, they can keep it, or a truck or whatever, the other side keeps it, and it's the spoils of war. The slaves are talking as if it's like that. So if they get to the other side, they can't be sent back. So they're all thinking about escaping and getting away. So I'm assuming that we're right in the middle of the war at this point, the Civil War. So anyway, they're talking about that, and then it also touches on the subjects of some of the older generation not wanting to leave, not wanting to get to the other side, or while they want their freedom, they're too old, they're too set in their ways, they'd much rather just stay and stuff like that. So it sort of touches on that as well. So as I said, this story is about Iola Leroy and her family, and we then it goes into all the secret meetings that they have around their religion, and there's a whole different things that are happening there, and then we meet Eugene and Maria, and they are Iola's parents. And so basically Marie is also can pass for white as well, and she's in the north and she's been educated, and Eugene is talking to his cousin Lorraine which is a male, about marrying Marie, and Lorraine freaks out about it and saying you can't do that, it's not right, and all this sort of stuff, because he's quite racist, whereas Eugene is not, even though he owns he's still a little bit racist in my opinion, but he owns slaves and stuff like that, but he treats them really, his justification is he treats them really good and stuff like that. Anyway, he wants to marry Marie. They do end up getting married, and then subsequently they have children. They chose not to tell their children that they had African American heritage, and so therefore they have no idea. The children have no idea, and as they get older they decide to send them off to school to be educated. So they head north to find a school that will take them, because even though the North and the South are fighting, there are a lot of people on the North side that still don't want to have anything to do with Negroes, or the other N-word that they use throughout the book. So there's that. So they have to find someone who is willing to take them in, because they don't want to hide it completely and then it come out one day. And so they tell the principals, and so anyway, they go to school, and Iola at this point thinks that she is white and is having conversations with her school peers about the fact that she agrees with slavery and all that sort of hoo-ha. And unbeknownst to her, there is also something playing out in the plot that her parents are coming up there to see her, and on the way they encounter people with yellow fever. The father gets sick. And basically Marie has been for many, many years worried that Lorraine was going to come back into the situation and just sell them back into slavery, because there is a law that even if you have one drop of Negro blood, then you are back in, you're enslaved, you're an enslaved, oppressed, and all that goes with that. So basically they're traveling north, and the father gets sick. Subsequently he passes away, and Marie becomes quite disheartened and ends up heading back south instead of continuing on north, because she becomes a bit ill and what they call brain fever. And basically she goes back to the plantation. In comes the character Lorraine, and he finds a loophole in their marriage. Even though she's got a marriage certificate and all the rest of it, he finds a loophole and basically puts her into slavery. And at the time she was writing a letter, because he did not know where the children were or anything like that. Iola and her brother, they were away at school, and basically the mother at the time was writing a letter, and when she answered the door, she took a turn for the worse. And basically he found the letter, found out where she was, wrote a letter tricking her to come back into the south, and because that was the letter that she was writing to her daughter to say, don't come back because it's not safe for you to come back. And so she was trying to do everything in her power to keep her children safe and in the north. Subsequently, Lorraine tricked Iola to come back to the south, and that's when he sold her into slavery. And all the property that Marie and Eugene had was divvied up between all the white relatives of Eugene. And yeah, so she was sold back into slavery, and she really kicked up a stink, so much so that she was sold several times before she ended up at one place where she was being very mistreated. And Tom, one of the characters in it, seen this and then spoke to a captain to get her freed. And then she worked at the hospital, the field hospital, and was helping people convalesce and come back from their injuries, and all holding their hand while they passed away, and just being with them, and singing, reading, doing all that sort of stuff. And so this was quite a shock to her, and but she took it with it in her stride, and she ended up at the hospital, and she made the best of a bad situation. And there was a doctor, I think his name was Dr. Grisham or something. Anyway, he was quite taken with her, and did not know either that she was actually part her heritage or anything like that. And he was talking to the captain one day because he seen her kiss Tom on the forehead as he was quite ill, and he was, spoiler, passing away. And after he passed away, she kissed him on the forehead. And yeah, so there was all this stuff going on. I don't want to go into too much more detail except about the doctor. He learned about her heritage, but it didn't change his opinion. He was quite taken with her. He felt that he wanted to marry her and stuff like that, and she kept rejecting him, going, but you come from a quite affluent family, what will happen to me when they find out? And so there's this whole divide throughout the book, and how she deals with that, and she embraces her heritage in the end because of the way everybody's mistreated. She got to see firsthand, she went from one opinion to another, and she wanted to educate her kin, and she wanted to find all of her family that had been separated, her brother and all that sort of stuff. And then from that, there's this beautiful underlying story of how she comes to terms with her heritage, and how she wants to educate the young people, and teach them to read and write, and make them better themselves, and get out of that oppression and all that sort of stuff, and the people she meets along the way. I found it a very interesting story because, while I know some of the history, this just gave me another take on the history, and something else to look into, and learn a little bit more about and whatnot. So I'm really grateful to be to have read this book and also to be co-hosting. I've got a lot of things to say. I've done chapter summaries, and there's bits and pieces that I've highlighted and that I want to talk about a little bit further, and most of which is going to be covered in that live stream. As I said, I'll leave all the information down below. You can come and join in the fun of the live stream, talking about quite a serious topic and quite an emotional topic for a lot of people, but I'm looking forward to it. And again, thanks Heather for letting me co-host with you. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, I did give this a 4-star rate, a 4.75 rating over on Storygraph. Reason being, and the only reason that I marked it down a bit, is because it was a little bit hard to read because it is in the dialect of the day. And when the author's talking or anything like that, it's mostly around the slaves and the dialect that they used to use. And there's a little bits and pieces in there that were a little bit tricky, so I ended up having to purchase the audiobook as well. But I'm glad that I did, because I got so much more out of the story. But as I said, come over and join us on the 21st of January. All the details are down below, including the live stream scheduled post, so you can click on the notify me and then you can join in the fun. But as I said, that's it from me today. That's all I've really got to say today about Iola Leroy. And as always, don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it, and then that way you're not going to miss out on any future posts. Everybody keep turning those pages, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.